Military conflicts leave complicated scenarios and legends in their wake, often decimating historical artefacts but creating their own new mysteries. Archaeologists and historians have extensively researched both world wars, but new glimpses into those terrifying times continue to surface. Here are some of those recently unearthed secrets and personal stories. British Happy Hour. A British camp was once established near the town of Ramla in Israel. With General Edmund Allenby in command, the unit used the barracks at a time when combat targeting the Turks in Palestine was suspended. Occupying the site from 1917 during World War I, British troops were resident there for 9 months. A century later, archaeologists uncovered hidden intel of what had transpired there. Within the camp's rubbish dump, as well as the usual broken crockery, they found that around 70% of the discarded items were liquor bottles. Hundreds of whiskey and gin bottles, amongst them some branded Gordon's gin and Jew's whiskey, were uncovered. It seems that the men whiled away the long months of inaction, becoming constantly inebriated. The sheer multitude of the used containers discovered at the site suggests that drunkenness did not break camp rules and became virtually a way of life. This was an interesting find for Israeli archaeologists and gave insight into how these bored soldiers spent their downtime. Dog tags. In 2014, the hobbyist historian searched the field outside London for war relics. Don Mackay focuses on the history of armed conflict, which made his findings even more special. In close proximity to World War II anti-artillery gun, he uncovered over 14,000 dog tags. The British Army issue are probably among the first to be manufactured from stainless steel. Dog tags for combatants were invented prior to both world conflicts, with vulcanized asbestos fibre used to forge them until 1960. The tags found by Mackay are each uniquely engraved with the names of British soldiers, but these soldiers were never issued the tags. It seems that plans for the newer ID system were scrapped soon after commissioning the steel tags, which were then voided and buried in the field. They had been produced for individuals in nearly every British regiment dating from before World War II to thereafter. This caused big problems in tracking down the soldiers' families, but Mackay's meticulous research into the history of the servicemen is gradually returning some of the tags home. The Missing Apprentice. During World War II, a teenager called Frank Lavilio had an unfortunate scrape with the Nazis. In 1944, the Germans occupied the English island of Jersey and confiscated every vehicle on the island. Lavilio was a mechanic's apprentice and, spying a motorbike belonging to a German soldier, appropriated it for a joyride. The 19-year-old was soon detained and ended up being processed to various concentration camps. Historians later tried to find out if Lavilio ever stayed at the notorious Bergen-Belsen and if it survived. If so, he would have been one of the 2 lucky British nationals to emerge from the camp alive. About 50,000 people perished there, including Anne Frank. Once it was uncovered that Lavilio had moved to Nottingham after the war, researchers appealed through a local newspaper for any information regarding the young man. A priest contacted them and declared that the unfortunate youth had been buried in a mass pauper's grave in Wolford Cemetery. Lavilio had succumbed to tuberculosis at the young age of 21. Although he was said to have contracted TB in Bergen-Belsen, the only proven British survivor of Bergen-Belsen remembered meeting Lavilio in another location. Further research confirmed Lavilio stays at Alta Bantaveg, Neuengamme and Sandbostel camps, but not Bergen-Belsen. Secret Weather Station. Situated near the North Pole are the remains of a wartime German base named Schatzgraber, meaning treasure hunter, on the remote icebound Russian island of Alexandraland. Meteorologists illicitly stationed there regularly informed the German military regarding weather conditions in northern Europe and surrounding oceans. Although the World War II base was a clandestine operation, its existence was recognised in some records. Schatzgraber was abandoned in 1944, but its geography made it impossible to study historically. However, in 2016, when a warm winter completely thawed Schatzgraber, Russian researchers documented the accuracy of the records. For the first time, the whole complex and its contents were catalogued. They indicated catastrophic events for the ill-fated crew. While starving during the winter of 1944, the men came down with an excruciating roundworm infestation due to undercooking polar bear meat. The evacuation plane damaged a wheel when landing and had to await a spare to be airdropped. When the ailing crew finally boarded, the leader had to be restrained due to delirium. An extensive search has uncovered the emergency airfield and more than 600 artifacts such as tinned food, uniforms, manuals, ammunition and weapons. The forest zones. World War II was an extremely well-researched global war, yet one type of battlefield seemed largely neglected. The conflict areas in the forests of Europe caught the attention of geoarchaeologist David Passmore when he found no reference to them in the research. During recent years, Passmore organised a team to trek through woodlands in France, Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg and the Netherlands. They concentrated on terrain where battles were fought from 1944 to 1945. The places were identified after gathering information from academic research, guidebooks and the internet. The team discovered trenches, bomb craters and even the remains of supply depots and foxholes. Particularly revealing were the German logistics depots, which incredibly pinpointed the exact locations of the German Army support network and how it was constructed before Normandy was taken by the Allies. Examining the nearly 900 bunkers, trenches and building foundations also clarified how this network evolved during the Normandy campaign and how it fell to the Allies. Passmore's study of the supply depots amassed intricate knowledge about the locations and tactics of soldiers fighting in European forests. The plane. Inspired by his son's homework about World War II, a Danish farmer called Claus Christiansen decided to investigate a field on his land. Klaus's late grandfather had declared that a warplane crashed there in 1944, although there'd been no indication of it during the 40 years that Klaus had worked the land. Finally, in 2017, Klaus and his 14-year-old son Daniel became excited when their metal detector started buzzing. At about 4 to 6 meters down, they discovered the plane, a World War II German Messerschmitt. The aircraft was fragmented into thousands of pieces, amongst which were debris from the engine, ammunition and human bones. Scraps of the airman's clothing were uncovered, his wallet still containing money. Investigators identified the pilot after analysing other personal items. The man's initials were inscribed on his watch, and they accorded with the name found on a service document and diary salvaged from the wreckage. The pilot was identified as 19-year-old Hans Wunderlich. His military records revealed that he was a Bavarian-born, single and childless. The plane is destined to remain in Denmark, but Wunderlich would be reinterred in Germany. The tunnel. Towards the end of World War II, the Nazis realised that they had lost. In Lithuania's Pona forest, they wanted to destroy evidence of a camp where around 100,000 people had lost their lives. 80 Jewish prisoners were transported from other locations to exhume and incinerate the remains. The men allocated to this hideous task were called the Burning Brigade. After some months, the workers' steely resolve became unravelled when they started finding their own family members inside the mass burial sites. For 76 high-stress days, the brigade dug away a secret subterranean escape tunnel with spoons and any other makeshift tools they could find. During the moonless night of April 15, 1944, the prisoners made their break for freedom. Despite being overheard within the tunnel, they persevered, clambering through 2-by-wire fences and a minefield, then running from dogs and dodging bullets and mortar as they took flight. 12 prisoners escaped, and the testimonies of 11 of the men later enabled researchers to locate the entrance to the collapsed tunnel. In 2016, archaeologists mapped the remainder with scanning technology. The burrowed-out tunnel was nearly 34 meters in length and evidence of the men's massive determination to survive in defiance of the barbarism they had endured.